We are gold and blue, born in 1872, the greatest team in the world. We are known as we follow on. We are the people through and through, the gold and blue since 1870.
Good morning, all. I hope we're having a great day. Welcome to the show. My name is Chris, and this is Bold and Blue 1872. And yeah, I'm on my own today. I've been left short at the last minute. Jack is unfortunately not going to be able to join us today, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a very good mood. It's Baltic. You could freeze the balls off a brass monkey, as they say here across the water at the moment. But I'm in a very good mood because we had a great weekend. Wasn't in a very good mood a few days before that. I'm going to get into that in more detail, but yeah, it was a statement at the weekend there, and I'll go into it in more detail as well. But yeah, in a good mood, I must say. But let's get into it. We played Hearts at the weekend. And I'm not going to lie, I was nervous coming into this one. The game a few days beforehand, I think most of the fans out there were all kind of, I think we were all aligned that we were waiting to see that team sheet on Sunday before we kind of, before we'd start being a bit more confident. And I was like many. When I seen the team sheet come out, yeah, I mean, is there lessons being learned by Danny Rowe, or was it always the plan to play a stronger team at the weekend? It did sound like that from his press conference after the game against Motherwell last week, which again I'll get into it in more detail that game. But I want to start with the positives, which was the Hearts game. I'd posted my lineup that I would have liked to have seen for this game, and it wasn't far off. I wasn't expecting 4-4-2. And by the way, can I just say, I've mentioned this in the past. Myself and Jack actually had quite an in-depth conversation about it on the deadline day show. 4-4-2 for me, I love it. I think in the Scottish League, I think it's definitely an approach that we can take. Maybe it's not suited for European football, and maybe in those games against the other side of Glasgow and possibly Hearts at the moment as well. Kind of contradicting myself there, I suppose, but then you might be going for those more kind of let's call them more sophisticated formations. But playing 4-4-2 at the weekend, I've had it in my mind for a while, just from the little that we've seen of Nadiri, that him and Chermiti might actually complement each other quite well. And yeah, I mean, boy, was that an understatement at the weekend there. But yeah, so we start off kind of 4. I think it was more like a 4-2-2-2. But on paper it was a 4-4-2. We had Scove on the right and we had Mikey Moore on the left, but they were playing very narrow. You got Raskin and Toshe sitting in behind them, obviously Nadiri and Chermiti up front, as I mentioned there. Sterling at right back, music to my ears. What a player that boy would be if he could just stay fit. But nonetheless, Sterling at right back gave me a lot more confidence. 2 Romans, I'll go into him specifically in more detail later on at left back, and we've got Soapy and Big Manny and as the back centre back pairing, and obviously Butland and goals. So when I seen the team sheet, very happy. Not exactly what I wanted. I probably would have liked to have seen Ant-Man on the left, Moore in the 10. I think a lot of fans have been calling for this. For some reason, Rowe doesn't like it. And Scove Olsen on the right and Nadiri up front on his own. But again, 4-4-2, I was quite happy with it. But yeah, the game doesn't get off to the best of starts. I seen a lot of people giving us pelters in the first half. I mean, yeah, listen, we lose the first goal, and you're like, it's going to be one of these days, isn't it? And it's the scar tissue. It's the scar tissue that we're also familiar with. You know, I don't want to say bottling it, but I mean, there's only one way to describe it. We're so used to the team kind of bottling it once we get to this stage where we think that we're in with a title run. we're in with a crack at having a title run anyway at this kind of business end of the season. But we go that goal behind. But I don't know. For some reason, I wasn't that concerned. I'm in the chat group with the boys, and it's like, very negative, and I can be quite negative. I'm probably one of the most pessimistic folk that you'd ever find, but I felt we were all over them. I felt we were all over them from start to finish. But we go that goal behind. We pull the goal back. Was it Leonard that scores the first goal? Poor defending, you know what I mean? I think Raskin gets caught napping in the midfield. I don't know what he's doing, but he's not paying attention, and Hearts get on the break. And then again, Raskin kind of tracks back. The ball gets cut back to Leonard. Raskin kind of makes a half-assed attempt at it. Fernandez could have done better as well with block. Seen Toshe giving out to Fernandez big time when it happened as well. But I don't think there was a lot you could do with the strike itself. Leonard had it quite clean. So yeah, defending, I think Raskin for me was mostly at fault for the first goal, and I'll speak about Raskin in more detail in a minute. But I didn't feel concerned, and lo and behold, a few minutes later we're up the other end. Now it's an own goal, but I think Nadiri's probably going to put it in the back of the net anyway. What's his name? Is it Steinwender or something? He's the boy that actually. It's just he's the one that scores the own goal. But I think, like I said, Nadiri's going to put it in the net anyway. But then when the second goal from Hearts goes in, and I think I've seen a lot of people criticising the defence, and fair dues. I think there is, Soapy in particular. I think you could criticise him. I've seen people giving Butland stick for Bravo's goal. I think it's one of those goals that looks a lot more what's the word? Kind of misleading. And he gets it in the back of the net, and I think Bravo does really well. I think it's a good goal from Bravo, and he's turning out to be quite a player. Is that somebody that we should be interested in? I don't know. You know what I mean? If there's anyone get any comments, then please feel free to chime in. Is that somebody we should be looking at in the summer? Because he definitely doesn't really have a great pedigree coming to Hearts, but seems to be doing the business at Hearts. He's quite the player. I thought it was a great goal. I don't think there was much he could do. Defending could have been better, obviously, but once he gets the head on it, I think he directs it perfectly, and Butland's got no chance. But maybe at that point I'm like, is this another? Is it going to happen again? Do you know what I mean? I'm still a bit pissed off about the Motherwell result. But no, I think again, like we're just we're all over them. The majority of that game was Rangers. There was only a few chances from Hearts, albeit they took their chances well when they did get the opportunities. But for the most part, it's all Rangers. So yeah, and then the Chermiti Cherminator, as some people are calling him. He starts on his run with his hat trick. 39 minutes, he gets his first goal. It's a decent finish, very decent finish. And in the second half, this header, Scove Olsen puts a cracking ball in for Chermiti, and Chermiti. I know a lot of people call Chermiti Kermit, playing off that pun. It was a leap that a froggy leap, if you will, that a frog would be proud of. So yeah, Kermit, Michael Jordan-esque is up in the air, and I suppose this is where an athlete like Chermiti is able to do stuff like that some other players probably aren't. he climbs up in the air. Something, it's certainly not something that the less athletic players can do. He climbs up in the air, and it's a great header, I must say. I love to see that. I miss the days of seeing those byline wingers just bombing down the wing and putting them in, and your big, your big centre forward just smacking the head on it. And yeah, the keepers get no chance. And then Chermiti. And by the way, I think a few people probably know. I had 4-2 as my result. Put a wee tenner on it. Got 70-1. Was laughing all the way to the bank at 90 minutes. By the way, 90 minutes. Chermiti strolls up. Gassama, by the way. I know Gassama comes on as a sub later on in the game, and I think it was. I think I've heard a lot of fans criticising Gassama, me being one of them. I think he should have been dropped out of the team. I think it was the right call that he was dropped. But as an impact sub, he seems to be very effective. He does a lovely run, plays in Chermiti. And Chermiti, I'm kind of head in my hands, do you know what I mean? Obviously with my bet on my mind as well. And he's composed, and unlike the Motherwell game, he finishes it now. He was very close to the keeper. And I was knitting buttons at the time, to be honest with you, because I think a lot of fans were expecting maybe Hearts were going to come back into it for that last. It was kind of 57 minutes was when we went 3-2 up, and it wasn't until kind of 89, 90 minutes until Chermiti finished them off with it and made it 4-2. So we were all a little bit nervous. So yeah, man, I've been in hospital a little bit recently. I was actually watching the game in the hospital at the time, and I was getting a bunch of funny looks because I was going tonto, man. Honestly, I know. Listen, we can get accused sometimes of kind of overreacting to some of these results. We've not won anything yet, but that for me was again, I was shitting buttons just in the lead up to that fourth goal, and to get it was for me. I felt like it was the turning of a corner, if you will. I didn't like that kind of feeling that we might bottle it. It was relief. It was gone. Now I might eat my words. I might very well eat my words when I'm saying that, but this feels different. It does feel very different. It feels different. And Chermiti getting that hat trick. Is that the catalyst for him to kick on and get better? Is playing the 4-4-2 going to be better for him? Is Nadiri going to complement him and bring the best out of him? I don't know. Chermiti, not too long before his fourth goal, takes a fresh air kick at the ball, and then follows up with a cracking shot after it. I say cracking shot. It was a decent shot, but this guy is he's a bit of an enigma. I said that I was on the kind of chatting on the Four Lads last night, and I called him an enigma, and I do believe that's a very good description of what he is right now. I'm just not quite sure about him. He's certainly not done enough. He's not done anywhere near enough. But that's now 5 goals in 2 massive games where he showed up, and he's scored 2 against that lot, and then he scored 3 against Hearts. So those massive games, he's done the business. But we need to see a lot more from him, don't we? I mean, there's no getting away from that. We've paid a fortune for him. We've not backed big money for him, allegedly, in the January window. The club obviously feels that they're going to get even more money for him. He is 21. I think a lot of people forget that. And I think that the things that he's lacking in, you can certainly teach. He's an athlete. He's definitely a very good athlete. You can see him when he's got pace. He's strong. He can leap. I've seen him hold the ball up quite well and hold players off sometimes not so great. But again, he's got the physicality to be able to do it. Can he teach it, and he gets better at it? There's massive question marks over Chermiti, but what a performance from him. Chermiti scores his hat trick and he gets man of the match, very, very much deservedly so. So yeah, it's a good result in terms of kind of putting a statement down that, you know, Hearts are top of the league. You could argue, are they top of the league on merit? Of course they are. They're the ones that have won the most points at the end of the day. So I mean, you can't dispute that. Are they also top of the league because the Old Firm have had significant problems this season? I think we've covered this to death, but Martin, obviously at the start of the season, we dropped so many points, and you know, he was setting records for you know, statistically being the worst manager in their history. Over at the other side of Glasgow, they had their problems as well. But nonetheless, it's a statement win. We've just beat the team that's up top of the league, and we've clawed it back to 2 points. You know, the other side of Glasgow's got a game in hand on us. We'll see what happens there. They've got quite a tough run in. I'm going to go into the fixtures because I do want to kind of have a little deeper dive into whether or not I think we're favourites or not. But just a couple of standout performances from that game. Can I just mention Tour Romans, by the way? I am so excited by this boy. He looks like a steal for what we've paid for him. An absolute steal. And the team looks, and I know it's early days and we've not seen much of him, but the team just looks so much more just offensive, much more dangerous. The way that he kind of overlaps, we've definitely missed that. He's great at crossing the ball, and he's also a very good defender. And I'm pretty confident he's a few slices short of a loaf, and I love that. I love it. I was speaking to one of the boys the other day there, and they compared him to Fernando Rickson in terms of the way that he approaches the game, and I think it's a very good description. I think he's not all there, and I think that's great. I love it. He doesn't pull out of anything. He goes into everything. 50, you know, all the 50-50s that I've seen him going into, he was going into them just full-hearted, not holding back. And he seems to have a really good brain for getting up that wing as well. So yeah, Tour Romans. Magoma, by the way, I don't want to take anything away from Magoma. I think Magoma's done great. He's a very young lad as well, very small in size and stature, which can be a challenge in the SPFL without a doubt. So don't want to take anything away from Magoma, but I think Tour Romans is just that next level. You know, maybe Magoma will get there someday, and it's obviously not going to be with us. He's going to go back to his club at the end of the season. But Tour Romans, I think he's great. The other one, Toshi. Toshi Chukwani for me, and you know, this is up for debate. It's subjective. I think he's that missing link that we've been missing in midfield. Now, I still think we need that number 6 conductor, because Toshi's not that. I've had this debate with a lot of people, but I think Toshi's more that box-to-box player. I think we still need that kind of conductor in the midfield, Steve Davis, Barry Ferguson-esque. I still think we're missing that because the other player that I'll get to in a minute is just not the answer. But Toshi, for me, I think he's filling a gap in that team that we've been sorely missing for quite some time. And it might fly under the radar a bit more than the likes of, you know, Nadiri will get the goals, or Tour Romans is, you know, from an attacking perspective. But I think there's a lot of players that have noticed that Toshi seems to be having a significant impact, and I think he's a player that we've really missed, and he's making all the difference, and he's only going to get better. He's just, you know, he's only a few games into his Rangers career, and I mean, that boy is a tank, man. He is. He's built like a brick shithouse. He is. He's I don't know. He looks kind of deceiving until you kind of see him next to other players. He's so wide and so broad, and he's just he looks like a great athlete with a great footballing brain. Again, I know a lot of these players have played together as well. I think it's Skov Olsen. I think two of Romans as well, but definitely Dio and Toshi. They all came through. Or they all played together at some point over in the Danish league. So I think there's relationships there. Now, on that note, I want to get to another player, right? Nico Raskin. I pointed out earlier on, in my opinion, he was at fault for the first goal. He got caught sleeping, but I don't know. Like my team before the game, I'd mentioned my front four, but my midfield, my two centre midfielders was Toshi, Chukwani, and Diomande. Now, I think anyone that's tuned into the show before in the past has seen me slaughter Diomande, and rightfully so. I think Diomande, he was off the boil for quite a while. There's no doubt about it. But the very little that I've seen, and maybe that's the relationship that they've got from when they played together in Denmark. But Toshi and Diomande, for me, it looks like there's a very good connection there. And the very little that I've seen of them, they seem to be an effective pairing in the middle, in the centre of the park. Whereas Raskin, for me, I love Nico Raskin, but I can't help but feel I'm living and he's living off the back of how he was playing under Barry Ferguson. And we've seen glimpses of that same midfielder, the way he was performing under Barry Ferguson. Diomande was great under Barry Ferguson as well, by the way. I don't think it's a coincidence Barry Ferguson was a central midfielder and those two were the ones that were shining when he was there, when he was in charge of the first team. But Raskin, for me, you need to be in the team on merit, and Raskin has not been performing. He just hasn't. I don't care if he's a Belgian international. I don't care if... I mean, I do care. I'd like to get as much money as possible for him because I'm convinced that he'll probably move on in the summer, considering that'll be him down to 12 months on his contract. But from a merit perspective, I don't think he deserves to be in that team right now. And I think if Diomande and Toshi was in that centre of the midfield at the weekend, it might have been a bit more comfortable. So yeah, I don't know what the answer is with Raskin. He's not a 6. He just isn't. I don't think he's a 6. I don't know what he is. I think he's more effective when he's a bit more forward. But then what do you have? I mean, then you have then you have Toshi and Raskin being very similar in terms of filling those gaps, and that you want both of those two players to kind of fill a different role if you want. And that's I just don't think Toshi and for me Toshi needs to be in there. And I don't think Raskin's deserving of being his partner right now. So I mean, again, credit where it's due. I've slated Dio in the past, but he's been performing when he's been playing recently. I think him and Toshi is the answer moving forward, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, two Romans, Toshi, I thought they were excellent. Nadiri didn't get any goals. Obviously, I think he would have got that first goal if it wasn't for the own goal anyway. But otherwise, the 3 players that we've signed in the January window made a massive difference. Now, one other player that we signed in the January window is Skov Olsen. I'm going to get panned for this, but I don't care because I've watched it back, I don't know, about 10 times at this point. Skov Olsen gets a yellow card in the first half for simulation. If you watch this back, go anyone that wants to take the time to, because I think a lot of people reacted to it, and a lot of people have got a habit of just looking kind of knee down, if that makes sense. Look at that Hearts player, the way that he collides into Skov Olsen is in his stride coming through the box. He's actually in the air. His feet are off the ground. for a brief second, he's striding, right? And the Hearts player actually connects on his hip, and you actually see Skov Olsen's whole body just move in midair. And then when he lands his feet on the ground, he kind of look. It looks like maybe he's dived, but there's actual contact there. So if you don't want to give the penalty, it might have been harsh. It's body to body. It's not, he's not 2-footed him. He's not come in, like I said. It's not knee down. It's kind of maybe kind of waist to waist, if you want, hip to hip. I think it was a penalty. Nobody agrees with me, and I don't care. I've watched it back so many times. I think that was a penalty, but instead he gets a yellow card for simulation. All right, don't give the penalty. Fine, whatever. That's all right. If you don't want to give the penalty, I could see why you wouldn't. But I don't think it was simulation. So yeah, but outside of that, back to Skov Olsen in general. I think Skov Olsen again. He showed some really good moments of his quality. I mean, that cross for Chermiti with his Nike Air Jordan effort. Michael Jordan effort. With a header, that's a sublime cross from Skov Olsen, and I think he's considering maybe he was playing a lot more narrow than Skov Olsen would like to play, in my opinion. I think he's much more. He's not a byline winger. He's a mixture of both. He can play down to the byline on the right side. He can cut in on his left. That's why he's so effective, because defenders don't know which way he's going, which is not always the case with our wingers, unfortunately. But with Skov, he can go either way. But he's playing a lot more narrower, but he still gets a great cross into Chermiti with that. So yeah, but it's no coincidence for me. Those 4 players that we signed at the weekend, they're all playing. We signed in January. They're all playing at the weekend, and we play a hell of a lot better. So the team selection obviously has so much to do with it. Now, that's the positive from the weekend there. I've not been on, like I said, I've been out of commission for a little bit there, but I've not had a chance to comment on the Motherwell game. I'm not going to give it too much time, because I feel like I've moved on from it. But I was fucking ripping last week. Absolutely ripping. I'm not going to lie. I was ripping at Danny Rowe, and I had serious question marks. I've been one of these people that, and I've been criticised for it, and it is what it is. I've been one of these people that has maybe not been on the Danny Rowe train as much as others. And it's nothing to do with the fact that, he's getting he's getting results, I should say. It has always been, I've said this in the past, when I see red flags with managers, I call them out. And if they become a pattern, if they become repetitive, it becomes a concern for me. And there has been a couple of things with Danny Rowe that have concerned me. And, team selection, playing certain players who don't deserve to be playing, and substitutions. Now, I get panned for this again whenever I mention substitutions. Yes, has there been games where Danny Rowe has changed the game because he's made certain substitutions and he's changed it at halftime, etc.? Yes, there has been a few occasions of that. Has there been a lot more games where his substitutions have been utterly fucking baffling? And has there been games where he shouldn't have started with that team in the first place, and the players that he brought on in the second half should have been playing in the first place? That's where I have the criticism of Danny Rowe, and that is where my concerns have been with him. I think when you hear this stuff about he's the manager, he knows better, he sees what's going on and on the training park and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I agree that there's no getting away from that. Of course, he's a lot closer to it. But that doesn't mean that, some of it that's staring you in the face, that maybe you shouldn't, you shouldn't be able to call it out. Do you know what I mean? So listen, again, I'm not going to go too much into detail with this. Motherwell are a good team. They are a good team. They play good football. they probably play the best. I mean, I said to the boys when I was watching that Motherwell game, as pissed off as I was, watching Motherwell play football is very easy on the eye. I mean, what the Motherwell fans must be, loving life at the moment, the football that they're watching over there. So from that perspective, is a point away to Motherwell a good result? It might prove to be, and we'll get into the fixtures, the remaining fixtures, in terms of whether or not we are, in my opinion, favourites. We'll get into that in more detail in a minute. But do I think we could have won that game? And do I think we should have won it, especially when they go down to 10 men for, I don't know, 15 minutes of the game? The Manny substitution, I thought it was very negative when he brought him on. It didn't make sense to me. Again, I go back to substitution. Fellow Asgard coming on later on in the game for Moore made absolutely no sense to me. So I think we could have, and I think we should have won that game against Motherwell. However, time will tell whether or not a point was actually a good result away to them. And I'll get to the fixtures in a moment, but just both the other side of Glasgow and Hearts have still got to play Motherwell away. So we'll see how the course of time plays out with that one. So do I think there was lessons learned at the weekend there after the Motherwell game? I've got a good feeling that Danny Rowe, because he's alluded to it a few times in his press conferences, that he's heard the reaction online. The fan media are, in my opinion, a lot better than the mainstream media actually asking Danny some hard questions about, team selection. Why did they do this? Why did they do that, etc. I think my understanding from listening to some of the other fan media channels is that Danny Rowe is very good with his time, and he'll talk to these. He'll talk to the fan media, and he'll listen to their feedback and all this kind of stuff. So I've got a feeling Danny Rowe, young manager, 2 clubs he's managed. He's had a lot of other coaching experience prior to that with some great clubs. But in terms of being first team coach, manager, whatever you want to call it, 100 games in charge. That was his 100th game at the weekend there. He's a baby as a manager. He's learning every day. I need to see more evidence that he doesn't make some of those peculiar, somewhat baffling substitutions again. But I think he might have already been playing that team at the weekend. I didn't like the comment after the Motherwell game that he had taken the Motherwell and Hearts fixtures as a kind of 2 fixtures together, in terms of he was planning the team selection to I'm going to play this against Motherwell, and then because I've got this team in mind for the Hearts game. I'm not a manager, I'm just a fan, but I am of the belief that you play your strongest team, otherwise you're not going to be in me a shout for that title challenge. You play Motherwell, you try and get the 3 points, and then you deal with the repercussions of that win after the fact. If someone gets injured, if someone's too tired, whatever it might be. So has there been lessons learned? I'm not sure. I hope there has, but from a positive spin, you could argue that was a much better team that he put out on Sunday, and therefore he understood the severity of it. And I thought the substitutions again against Hearts were a little bit. The timing was a bit off. I didn't think Mikey Moore was great at the weekend. There he had these moments, but I thought he was getting lost in the game too much, and maybe just constantly, not constantly, but too often he was just running into traffic. I thought Adman coming on a bit earlier would have been better, and this is where that kind of 4-2-2-2 being very narrow. I think when you're coming towards the end of the game, and when you've got Scove Olsen on the right, and then you bring in Ant-Man on the left, you could create a lot more width. You've got 2 strikers up there, 2 big strikers that are capable of putting the ball in the net with their head, then I think you could stretch it a bit. Ant-Man can go down on the left. He can come in on the right. He's probably much more, if he's playing on the left-hand side, he's probably much more likely to go on his right foot. But that doesn't even happen. Ant-Man comes on and kind of plays over on the right anyway. So, and then Gassama goes over on the left. And yeah, I mean, who am I to argue? Gassama has a great run and plays that ball through to Chermiti. So it all worked out in the end. But yeah, I think maybe there was a point in time in that game, like I mentioned earlier on, 57 minutes to 90 minutes between Chermiti's 2 last goals before we win 4-2. There was a point in time in that period where I was like, this is getting a bit stagnant. And I think he might have been able to change it a bit earlier. But again, who might argue? We win 4-2, so it is what it is. So yeah, listen. Who have we like? So these are the fixtures coming up, right? And I do like. Are we favourites? As things stand today, Hearts are 2 points ahead of Rangers. We've played the same amount of games, and we've got equal goal difference, 26 goals. Celtic have got a game in hand, and they are 1 point behind us and 3 points behind Hearts. So they could effectively go above us with their game in hand, and be joint top with Hearts. Hearts would probably still be ahead of them in goal difference. So that's as we stand today. Fixture wise, obviously we've got Livingston up next. Then we play the Filth. We're at Ibrox. Then we've got the cup game against the Filth again at Ibrox. St Mirren at home. And this again before the split. St Mirren at home. And then we've got Aberdeen at Ibrox, and then Dundee at Ibrox. Dundee United, sorry, at Ibrox. I think that sorry, and then finally we've got Falkirk at home as well. So St Mirren never give us an easy game. They never give us an easy game. And we're playing at St Mirren. Falkirk is a potential banana skin. Dundee United at Ibrox, Aberdeen at Ibrox. I'm even confident with the other mob at Ibrox as well. In both games, I think we'll do them at Ibrox twice. I can't wait for it, to be honest with you. I think they're shit. I really do. I've been watching them. I've never watched a full game in my life of theirs, but unless it's an old firm, obviously. But just I've been watching some of the highlights, and I know there's a lot of debate about what's going on with their injury time goals at the moment and all of that, and I don't want to get into it because there's if I can't prove it, then I don't know what the answer is. There's clearly something going on, but and I don't want to get myself into trouble either. I'm obviously putting this out on a podcast, so I've obviously got a certain opinion of it, but I just don't know how to prove it. But ultimately, doesn't matter. It is what it is. Our destiny's in our own hand. I think we'll thump them because I think they are shit. I think Martin O'Neill coming back with them, whatever. I don't think it matters. They're a bad team, and I think they've got a bunch of players that want out of there as well. So I think we'll do them. I think we'll do Livingston, Aberdeen, Dundee United. I've no concerns with them. St Mirren at home, Falkirk at home, little bit of a concern. Now, we have, in my opinion, the easier run. Maybe Hearts. Hearts have got a lot of home games before the split. But we have a decent run. Playing Celtic is obviously no mean feat, but we've got a decent run in terms of most of our challenging games are at home. Most of our games are at home, and we have the advantage from that perspective. More challenging wise, Falkirk and St Mirren away. I think St Mirren should be okay, but Falkirk might be a banana skin. I think we go into the split, in my opinion. I think we go into the split top of the league. And I think we need to. I think if we don't, I think if we don't, the final games after the split, we have probably the hardest of the 3 teams. We will have Hearts away, and we will have the Filth at Celtic Park. Am I confident we will still win those games? I think there's points to be taken there without a doubt. I mean, of course there is, but it is going to be tough. Now, on one other team that's obviously been having their say in the league this year is obviously Motherwell. I mentioned earlier on, I think they're playing the best football in the league. They're only I think 7 points behind Celtic. I think 10 behind Hearts. Am I saying they're in the title challenge? No, I don't think they are. But I think they're going to have a massive say, and particularly if they're playing in Motherwell. I think yes, and that's one thing. I think Hearts and Celtic are both going to have to travel to Motherwell after the split as well. So I think they're going to drop some points there. Everything else, listen, there'll be twists and turns elsewhere. Of course there will. I'm sure. You know what I mean? But I think if we go into the split top of the league, and based on the form, based on the feeling, I don't want to get carried away, but yeah, I think we're favourites. I know we're, we're not top of the league right now, and it sounds ridiculous to be saying that. No, it's not. Doesn't sound ridiculous. Obviously, we're always going to be in it, but I just think we're favourites. I think those signings in January are monumental. I complained that I thought we should have brought a 6 in January, and I still think that's the case. But that was really the only one position that I was worried about that we didn't bring in January. All the other boxes have been checked, and they all look quality. And I think they're going to make a massive difference. And we were already, performances hadn't been great, but results we were churning them out. You know what I mean? So I just think we're favourites. I do. I'm excited. I'm more. 2 years ago, you will all recall, Philip Clement got us in a position where we were top of the league, and we just kind of. Was it the bottle went? I don't know. There was some injuries that played their part, but in the last couple of months of that season, we fell apart, and and we did not obviously win the league. So this feels different. It just feels, the momentum feels different. It feels much more organic. It feels like the stars are aligning. Other teams playing the way that they are. Hearts having a bunch of injuries that I don't think they could afford to have. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to win the league by default because other teams had injuries. I think we'll win the league on merit, but it just feels different this time, and it's in our own hands, and that for me is by far and away the most important thing. We win our games. And even with the twists and turns, we could afford to get a couple of draws in there against the likes of Hearts and Celtic, etc. And yeah, that point in Motherwell might prove to be a better result than we thought it was last week. If Motherwell can do some damage against the other two as well. So I think we're favourites, and I'm just buzzing, man. Do you know what I mean? I'm buzzing. And I'm quite a negative person. I think anyone that's tuned into the pod in the past, I do play devil's advocate quite a lot, and I do kind of, what if this, and yeah, people will say Roll did this, Roll did that, and I'll be like, yeah, but is it really because of this, or maybe it's because of that? I'm always kind of trying to figure out whether or not I should be optimistic. Maybe it's just the scar tissue again from the past, and who can blame me? I remember as a lad, I was always positive. You know what I mean? Because we were fucking winning every year. So, but it's been one league in many years, and I've found it hard to get positive and just be fully on board. But I think I am now. I've got a really good feeling about what's happening right now. Really good feeling about it. And long may it continue. Long may it continue. Yeah. If Chermiti can start firing on all cylinders, we think Nadiri looks the business. That was one of our main problems, just scoring more goals up at our strikers scoring goals. Yeah, I think it's looking good. So we'll see how it pans out. We've got Livingston at the weekend. I'm fairly confident we'll get the job done there. And then we've obviously got some 2 big games. It is worth noting, by the way, the other side of Glasgow have got they've got a couple of games in Europe in between as well. So make a change from us being in Europe after January. And having to kind of contest on all fronts. Let's see how they fare when the shoe's on the other foot. That might have a part to play as well. So again, just the stars are aligning for me, and I feel really confident. As pissed off as I was midweek last week, I'm delighted. I'm delighted with the result and the performance at the weekend. Again, I thought we were all over them. I just do. I don't remember Hearts having many chances outside of the couple of goals that they scored. So, when you do that against the team that's top of the league, then why wouldn't you be confident? So right. Listen, thank you very much all for tuning in. If you could like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. The channel is growing and continues to grow. Our growth on X, etc. I've mentioned this before. I'm a fan, just talking about my team that I love, and I don't I don't know much about promotion. I don't know much about being on X and promoting the channel and all that stuff. So everything's just been kind of organic, and it's been great. The feedback's been great as well. I'd love to get more engagement. I'm going to start doing these shows live moving forward, so you guys can get involved. I am very open as well. If you are interested in getting on the pod and joining me and becoming a feature of the pod as a co-host, I am all on board with that. If you want to get in contact with me, it's at Bold and Blue Pod on X, or you can get me at Gmail. It's Bold and Blue, Bold N, and not and, Bold N, Blue 1872 at gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to speak to anybody that's interested in jumping on. It's fine sitting here talking to myself for an hour or whatever it is, 48 minutes we're at now. Always good to have conversations, bounce off people, get different perspectives, etc. I prefer that a lot more. So very, very open to getting people joining. So if you're a would-be podder, please do feel free to get in contact. We're still a small pod. We're 13, almost 1,400 subscribers at the moment. We are growing every day, and again, just fans talking about the team we love. So yeah, listen, thank you very much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure, and I am really looking forward to the Livingston game. So until then, I will be back next week, and enjoy your day. This is Bold and Blue 1872, and thank you very much.
We are gold and blue, born in 1872, the greatest team in the world. We are known as we follow on. We are the people through and through, the gold and blue since 1872. With our hearts on fire. racing for the